Well, hey, everybody, glad to be back with you again. And today's topic is the first steps to take when launching your business. Seems like an important topic, David.
It is. And what I would just say is a lot of what we're going to be talking about today, even is what is going on inside your
Yeah.
head. And because that's something that doesn't get enough attention. It's not addressed enough. People get excited about the vision of what they want to do, and they get excited about, hey, I'm going to start my own business. Someone's going to hire me to do something. This is amazing. This is great. And I liken it a little bit to Lord of the Rings,
Mm.
and not that intense, but um, think when Frodo and Samwise agree to take the ring. Hey, we'll take it. We'll go on this journey. All we got to do is bring the ring to this place and throw it in the fire. Right? That's it. Right? Seems simple and straightforward enough. And then they're going on this journey that has forever transformed who they are as people.
Mhm.
And that's a little bit of how, in a much less life-threatening way,
Yeah.
I view a little bit of this.
Yeah.
I have said often in the past that two of the most life-transforming things that happened to me in my life are becoming a father and starting my own business.
Yeah.
And those two things, um, those two things probably shaped my character, changed me as a human being, made me just it made me a different person, a stronger person,
Mhm.
a different kind of person
Yeah.
than anything else. And those are just things that you can't even quite put into words,
Yeah.
because it's going to push you, it's going to challenge you, it's going to cause you to dig deeper than you've had to dig before.
Yeah.
Because whenever I was at a job, you always had a very defined lane, right?
Right.
I'm like, okay, this is the project that needs to be done. Okay, I did my
Mhm.
part of
Yeah.
the project. I had my little role. I was responsible for doing that. I did that. Well, ultimately, I wasn't responsible for it because it was like senior management who was ultimately responsible for it. And
Yeah.
okay, I didn't, the buck did not stop at my desk.
Yeah.
Well, when you are the entrepreneur, when you're the business owner, that buck stops with you.
Yeah. I agree with all this. And I think, too, I don't know that many of us, if any of us, realize what we're saying yes to when we step into this, right? Like you said, there might be a vision and excitement and enthusiasm with I get to start my own business, and we envision the outcome of that, right? We envision the dream and what could be, and that's what pulls us forward and pulls us into this journey. But I know for myself, I remember and it's funny because a friend of mine's kind of going through these early stages right now in his own coaching business. And he even said yesterday, he's like, I'm climbing out of my pit of despair right now.
Uh,
And and he and I have talked about that. Like, there's you feel these quick wins sometimes, you feel good, you're excited, you're enthusiastic, and then you start bumping up against walls and obstacles. And it's like, and then there's like, am I really equipped to do this? Can I, and I know that leads us into really the first point of what we want to talk about today, but it's so true that the journey we're on is transformational.
right.
And I think here's the thing, David. I think that if people would go into business, starting their own business with this understanding more clearly, then those obstacles, those hurdles, you realize they're not these terrible things that are happening to you. Many of those things are truly happening for you to help you become a better, stronger, smarter, wiser, person, a better version of yourself that we believe God would want. It's a journey of becoming, I call it.
Right. Well, and I heard something the other day, and I was listening to a podcast, and it was talking about it, like the struggles we're going to face in our business, and the challenges and the adversity we're going to face as we go throughout this journey. And the guy said something that just hit me square between the eyes, and he was like, "As you go through this journey, and you're going to face hard times. There's going to be very difficult moments as you go through all this, and one of two things is going to happen. That adversity is going to beat the strength out of you, or it's going to beat the strength into you."
Mm,
And the difference between those two is going to determine how successful you are.
Yeah.
And that just was like,
Yeah, it's
whoa,
powerful.
that just, man, that was right between the eyes for me. That just hit me because I was like, yeah, that is so true. Because
But how many people look at this as a personal growth journey as much as I want to make, an income doing my own
right.
business, right?
And
Like,
I think that's just the thing, is that most people don't. Most
right.
people look at this as, and let's just be honest, how do most businesses start? Well, I'll share with you how most businesses start. I have a son who is going to be graduating from college here next month.
Mhm.
So we're almost to the end of the college journey with him. We got like a month left in the college journey. And a few days ago, I was at a mastermind event and met a guy, and he sells these really high end pocket knives and everything, and very cool stuff. And I looked at his website. I'm like, dude, this would be a lot better if you had like 360 video on your site of these cameras, so you could like rotate. Like you could use your mouse and you could rotate the image around so you could see all the different aspects and all the different things of the knife and how it all works, and you could really show these things off.
Right.
And I actually he goes, oh, that's right, that would be much better than what I have right now. He's like, yeah, that's, I appreciate that. Then I thought about it, and I like, my son is into all sorts of 360 video, film, all that
Right.
kind of stuff. And so I said, hey, I have an option for you if you're looking for something. I said, you could, my son might be able to do this for you. And so now this week he reached back out to us. I'm in negotiations. We're in this process. My son may have his first gig
That's awesome.
doing something as a, almost an entrepreneur straight out of college. And this is
Right.
how a lot of this starts. You don't start this with the perspective, hey, I'm going down this journey because I just want to become a much stronger person.
Right.
No, you started because, say, somebody walked up to you and said, hey, can you do that for me?
Yeah.
You go, yeah, I can do
Yeah.
that for you. Okay, I'll hire you to do that.
Right.
And off we go. and we get started on the journey. But as you go, you quickly realize it's much more than just that.
Mhm.
There's a lot more to this story than, hey, pick up the ring and throw it in the lake of fire. Okay.
Right.
Or the volcano. Like, oh, simple. Sounds easy. All right, let's go. Man, there's a lot more to the story. Let's go into
And,
that.
and here's the thing, and it's, as you're telling that story, it's interesting to me because it hit me years ago. I felt like the Lord was saying to me, Chris, you're not just learning all this and doing all this for you. You're also doing this for the 3 kids you're raising and your clients, because what you're going through and what you're learning is what you're going to be able to help people with. And when you have a perspective of, and for me, it was weird because I was not typically the number one leader in my roles as a pastor, and the background I'd had. I was always supporting a leader or being in a number 2 kind of position, and I thrived there, and I was good at doing those things. But this was the stretching part for me, was to move into that number 1 role in my own business, and then to realize I'm going ahead of a lot of people that I'll be able to help down the road.
Right.
That's a lot of this. I mean, you've done this journey for over a decade now, and now your son, right? You get to coach your son and help him take this step. I
Right.
have a kid getting ready to go into college, right? My first is starting college, and I've thought a lot about this. And my other son is training to be an electrician in the next couple of years, and we've talked about him having his own business someday, and it's like I kind of get goosebumps about it because I'm like, maybe this was so much bigger than just me wanting to have a little coaching business.
Yeah. I think that's 100% true. Is that that's exactly the point I'm trying to make with all of this, is that this journey, we think, hey, I'm going to do this. Some people are interested, I'm actually got some skill in this area. I got some gifting. I'm good at these things. I can help people do that, and they're going to pay me for it. Great. But guess what? It's way bigger than that.
Yeah.
You're going to be stretched as a person. You're going to be impacted on how you relate to your children, to the people around you. You're going to be able to learn things, pass on things, and you're just going to be, the depth of who you are, the strength of who you are, and in my mind, if you do it right, your empathy,
Mhm.
how much you care about people,
Hmm.
how considerate you are grows.
Yeah.
And I know that's not true for everyone, because some people turn into greedy little turds, for lack of
Sure.
a better word,
Sure.
who view it, I'm just going to make all the money I can and I don't care about it anyway. Well, some, you can go that path as well. That
Sure.
is an option for you. But if you really allow yourself to go through this journey and you really submit yourself to the process,
Yeah.
you will realize that you are becoming a much better version of you.
Yeah.
You become a person who looks at the other person who's struggling, and you go, I used to just shake my head at them, and now I'm going, oh, I get it. Like, I know, I get it.
Yeah.
I can appreciate where they are, and rather than just walking past, how can I help you? And you reach
Yeah.
out and you help that person, because you're like, all right, I know that I can help them. They need help, so let me reach out a hand and help.
And you know what's interesting is, I mean, I know you and I both followed and learned from a lot of, successful entrepreneurs and leaders over the years in our journeys, but it's like it's been interesting to watch which path they do go down and how they do. Is it all about them, or is it truly they're being transformed? And I think there's some that, like you said, they start out just trying to make the quick buck, and then they've become a much better person through the
Right.
process. Their character has been refined. We've also seen people who started out with the right heart position, the right mindset about what they're doing and who they're helping, and they turned the wrong direction and became, the greedy monster that nobody wants to be around, right? So it can so to that point, you know, I know you want to dive into that a bit about, preparing your mind and your heart and all this. So what should people look to do, or how should they approach that so they don't fall down the wrong path?
Right. Well, I mean, there was that saying that we've heard for a long time, which success doesn't ruin you, it reveals you. So there
Right.
is a little part of this, which is what's in your heart to start. And I
Hmm.
think there's that question of like, why are you doing this in the first place?
Yeah.
Are you doing this all just for yourself, for your own glory, for your own benefit, for everything? Check your own heart a little bit
Yeah.
on this. Why? Or do you honestly believe that you have something valuable that can make a difference in people's lives, make their lives better, and as a result of adding value and making solving problems for people and doing these good things for other people's lives,
Yeah.
that you will get paid and you'll get paid well for it,
Hmm.
and you'll be in a great position. So it's a win and a win. And you're
Hmm.
looking at it going, I know I can help that person. I know I can make their life better. Or is it just like, oh, I can manipulate that person and I can get money out of their wallet?
Right.
Because those are very different things. So you got to start off with a own little bit of a heart check,
Sure.
because it is going to be a journey. It is, like I said, you take that ring, throw it in the volcano fire. Sounds easy. Start a business.
There's a lot happening between those 2
Yeah,
points though,
you
right?
start a business, someone's going to pay me to do this stuff. Like my son, like, hey, this guy wants to hire you to do a bunch of product video. Like, okay, sounds easy enough. We're off and running. Well, off here we go. Like, okay,
Yep.
we'll see.
Then you have
We'll
to
see.
learn to deal with clients. You have to
Yep,
learn to manage your funds. You have to learn to do
exactly.
all the
All of
things.
So you're going to quickly learn you're responsible for everything. Like,
Hmm.
there is no boss that you can blame when something goes wrong.
Right.
When the customer calls up and is mad and upset, guess who has to face it? That
Yep.
would be you. There is no like, oh, that's your fault. You got to deal with it. Like that was your screw up. Nope. Nope. You're going to be faced with those challenges. You're going to be faced with all sorts of moments where you're like, oh, crud, I
Yeah.
forgot to do that. And I screwed it up. And now the client's mad. And I got to go make it right. And I
Yeah.
got to go apologize to that client. I got to go make it right. I got to go fix it. And that means I'm going to be up late tonight. And I'm
Right.
going to work on a lot of extra hours just to try, and for no more money, but just to try and take care of my client
Right.
and make it right, because I know I messed up. Because you may not feel that way in the beginning, but when you start getting client upon client upon client upon client, all of a sudden you're like, okay, I got more going on that I can keep my head straight on. And
Right.
eventually you're going to have something that slips through the cracks.
Yeah.
And it's inevitable. And so you got to prepare yourself for those moments, for those challenges that you're going to face. And you got to be willing to own up to them and take care of them, and be responsible for them. And then you got to be willing to understand too, this journey is going to take longer than you think it will.
Yeah.
When we always imagine success, I've always joked, like the success is like this nice little straight line. I
Yep.
start here, it goes up, and I end here. Look, it's great. Well, That's not really reality. The journey is up, up, down, up, down, up,
Yeah.
down. And then I end at the end point where I was going to. But that journey took a lot longer because there's all the ups and downs, and you're not just going on this simple straight line. There's a lot of peaks and valleys, and it's going to take a lot of time, and it's going to test your courage, your commitment, your resolve. Do you really want it? And that's where I look at some of this too, is like, why are you starting this business?
Yeah.
Because too often I see people start a business simply because, well, I can make money doing this.
Right.
I can get paid doing this. Well, that's a piece of the puzzle. That's one
Yeah.
element of it. But I hope that's not the only reason you're doing this.
Yeah.
Because if it is, you need more depth than that if you're really going to stick with it. You got to have a deeper why as to why you're taking this on.
Well, that's what I was going to say is, especially when those obstacles come, right? When the bad days happen, you have to have some depth there to give you a reason. Because to me, I heard it phrased this way that really stuck with me years ago was, the vision then begins to pull you forward, so that you can go through the things that you're going to have to go through. And I've shared this before that, I remember when I started my business, right as I was getting started, I had an older guy, probably 30 years older than me, say, Chris, your vision's great, but just realize it's going to take 4 or 5 years for you to get to where and I didn't want to hear that at all. Right. And he was not wrong in any way, shape, or form. And in those first foundational years in particular, I had to go, like, I questioned myself 1,000 times, right? I wondered, is this really worth it? Should I have done this? Am I doing the right thing? And all the self-doubt, all the mental junk, but now I look back and I realize it's not that I don't have those kind of days occasionally, but they pass quicker because I realize, well, look what you've gone through already. Look what you've overcome. And remember when you bumped up against that and you got through that, right? Like, so experience through those tough days actually builds us and strengthens us so that we can, it's not that they're not there anymore, but the mountains now start to feel a little bit smaller as you keep pressing forward.
Well, and I used to say, one of the tests of being an entrepreneur is how big of a rock does it take you to that will cause you to stumble?
Mm.
And we were all on this journey. We're on this path, right? We're walking down this path. And in our early days, a small rock will cause us to stumble and fall. And then we're like second guessing ourselves. We're kind of like, well, I don't know if I should have been doing it. Well, I don't know. I'm doubting myself now. But as you go on in this journey, you build strength, you build character, you build resolve. That little rock doesn't, you just, nope, I step right over it now. That little rock doesn't make me fall anymore. Now it's going to take a doggone mountain to make me not keep going. Because like the other day, I was with this group of entrepreneurs and we're all talking about different things in our businesses. We're all talking about different things that we're working on and building on. And I was describing some of the stuff that we're working on, and they really weren't quite getting it. They weren't understanding it. It was a struggle for them. And I finally looked at it and they were kind of like, I don't know, man. I don't because it wasn't clicking for them, except for one guy in the room who was also a coach.
Mm.
He understood what I was doing. He was looking, and he was right across the room from me. So we would like stare at each other every once in a while. And he had this look in his eye, and I looked at him, and we had to have like this knowing look, like he gets it.
Yeah.
He understands why I'm doing this because he has the exact same reason why he's doing what he's doing. Yeah. And I just finally said, well, this is the hill I'm going to die on. This is what I'm meant to do in my life. And I'm going to do it until I figure it out and it works. And everybody else was just kind of looking at me like, okay.
Like,
and when I looked over at Brian, I don't think the man could have had a bigger smile on his face. He just looked at me like, yes, because he knew where my heart was, because he was doing the same type of work. He's been giving life transformation to people, that he has been helping change people's lives through his coaching. Yeah. And he just looked at me like, yeah, he was just beaming at me. And I was like, yes, you get it. Yeah. You understand. Now it's going to take a stinking mountain to make me fall. Because you may knock me down, but I'm getting right back up this time. The little rocks don't make me fall anymore. Yeah. I'm just going to step over them, walk around them, go whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not gonna be stumbling on those rocks before. Whereas before, if somebody questioned me in the early days, I would have like, oh, am I doing this wrong? I
Right.
would have had all sorts of doubt. I would have had all sorts of fear. I've been second guessing myself and been like, maybe I'm doing this wrong. Maybe I should quit.
Hmm.
Maybe it's a bad idea. Maybe it's not gonna work. Now I'm like, nope, you don't get it. That's fine. I'm going anyway.
And I think, and this moves us into what the second point we want to talk about today. It's as we've gotten clearer, right, on our design, launch, grow program of what we want to offer, the training, as well as the who we want to help and why we want to help them, and the demographic of who those ideal clients are. It's changed a lot. I've watched it happen in you. I've watched it happen in myself. Even today, I was driving back from taking my son to school, and I was thinking about as a leadership coach and what I do with clients. I was like, you know what? There's a common theme of their mission focused and purpose driven are kind of two descriptors of who I tend to resonate with and who I love to work with. Those are phrases or terms that I had not necessarily just pinpointed until I mean, literally, like right before we jumped on this video today, those things jumped out at me. Like, these are the kind of people that I tend to connect to
Right.
with our design, launch, growth program. What are we talking? We're talking about mission driven, purpose driven, people that have a message, that have a calling, that they want to truly help and serve their clients. And it's not just about the money grab, right?
Right.
So shift gears a little bit here to maybe some more tactical about what do you do once you've got this mindset stuff right. How do you then start to implement in a way that becomes the way to get things really going?
Well, like I said before, the way most businesses really start is how my son is kind of starting.
Right.
Hey, so and so would like to hire you to do this. You want to take that on? Okay, because it's going to give me some
Somebody's
money.
going to pay me to do this thing
Someone's
I
going
like
to
to
pay me to
do.
do something I like to do. Great. And you don't really have a plan. And then, maybe another customer then finds out that you did that. Well, you can do that for me too.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden you're like in this world. Well, what ends up happening is you start going down this path and you start working with people and you don't really have a clear vision for what you're doing.
Mhm.
And while it may be okay for the first few, eventually you're going to stumble into a project or a client or a situation where you go, oh, I should have never taken this on because this is not good.
Yeah,
I got myself in a
I don't
pickle.
want more of this.
I don't want to ever do this again. I don't want to work in this type of project. I don't want to try and take work with this type of client. This is really not for me. And how do you avoid that? How do you work around that? Well, you have to have a strong business plan of where you're going first.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're just going wherever things lead. You just
Right,
pop, okay, where whoever will pay me money, I'll go do stuff for. Well, that's okay up to a point,
right.
but after that, you're going to start finding you're going to hit some situations where what appeared to be gold turned out to be fool's gold, and
Sure.
instead it's a bunch of headaches. And so, what some of the steps, again, these are all the things that we teach in DLG all the time, which is identify, you need to know exactly who your customer is.
Yeah,
That's one of the first things we really teach. Who is your customer? Like, where are they? What does that person really look like?
yeah,
Whether it be an individual or an organization, describe them and
yeah.
in detail. What is the problem that they're facing? Like, what's wrong? They have something out there that that they're facing that's not going well,
Yeah.
and why do they want to solve it? So why is that so important to them? What is that problem that they're struggling with that you can solve for them? Like my friend that I met with the knives, he's realizing that I'm not displaying my products nearly well enough
Yeah.
because if people could really see and interact with and see the quality and the craftsmanship of these higher end pocket knives, man, they're going to be much more willing to buy
Right.
if they're appreciating what we've done here. This isn't
Sure.
just a pocket knife. This is like nice. This is really good quality. These are made out of titanium. These are really good quality, and they're winning awards and they're doing all this
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
And so anyway, he's like, how could we do that? So now he knows the problem. And so you can solve that problem. And then once you know that there's a problem that you can solve, how can you solve it in a unique way?
Mhm.
How can you give them an answer that's better than what they can get elsewhere?
Yeah.
Do you have a way to do things more economically for them? Do you have a way to do things more quickly for them? Do you have what is the reason they should say yes to you versus somebody else?
Mhm.
And so a lot of that becomes the unique system that you use to get people to say yes. And when you're intentional about this, when you intentionally say, I'm looking for people who have this issue, who are struggling with that problem, now you're much more laser focused on who to say yes to and who to say no to. Because you're going to have to learn, like, no, anytime I do one of these projects, I love it. It's exactly in my lane. It's exactly what I love to do. It's right in my skill set. It's right where I'm strong. And
Mhm.
I would do these all the time. And so when you do that, then when you know that you have a unique way of giving a great solution, and people are going to say, oh, wow, that's great. You can do that at that price and that speed and that quality. Great. Let's do that. That's amazing. Let's do that. And then it's all about putting it together in an offer. How are you going to present that to that customer so that
Yeah.
they're going to go, wow, that's amazing. I can't even, no, why would I say no to that?
Right.
That's perfect. Let's
Yep.
do it. And so it's all about having that thought out and ahead of time. Know who those people are, know what the problem is, know what they need, know what you can do to solve it, and know how you can separate yourself and make yourself look different. If you can do those things, you now actually have a plan.
Right.
You have a business plan. You have a way to go out into the world. And anytime someone talks to you, what do? Well, you don't have this generic answer anymore. You know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know exactly where you fit in the marketplace.
What I think a lot of people, especially starting out, we're trying to just get any customer, right? Any client at first. And to your point, you know, I had a young guy. That was my moment, was when I coached a young guy with no motivation. His parents wanted me to basically help him get out of their basement, and they were going to pay me a lot of money
To get them
for a
out,
year to get him out of the basement. And within 3 months, I
they
fired
could
him.
have just changed the locks.
They could have done a lot of things. could have been cheaper, but it was one of those redirecting moments that I needed, because at that point I thought, well, I can coach anybody. And I realized, well, maybe I can coach anybody, but do I want to coach anybody? And what are their issues, right? Like, this kid was not willing to make changes. He didn't want what I was trying to help him with. His parents wanted it for him.
Right.
And
He was
at that
comfortable in the
moment,
basement.
yeah, and at that moment I was like, this is not my perfect prospect. This is not my
Right.
perfect client, right? Like, I'm not looking for more of this. I don't want to do this anymore. And it's funny because I ran into his parents. I'll run them into the community every now and then, because they volunteer with like one of, I think, the Lions Club, and I'll see them at different events in the area. And I still have a great relationship with them and great, connection with them. I'll ask how he's doing and whatnot. But and so there's no hard feelings. But I just told him, I was like, I don't want to waste your money and my time, because he doesn't want this. And so we stopped the engagement, and I could have dragged it on and kept taking their money, but I felt like, for my credibility and my sanity,
Right.
and the integrity I wanted to offer in my business, I'm like, but it took it took me saying yes to something that I had to learn that wasn't the right fit,
Right.
but it helped me refine my business plan as far as who I'm going to go after to target as my customers and clients. So yeah, so this is really good. So once you've done that, what's next?
The next thing is, how are you going to find them? Yeah, because obviously sometimes you get them falling in your lap. Like my son is now getting one, kind of like, dad made a connection and here, I'm going to throw one in your lap, but which is great, but that's not going to take care of
It's
them the
not
rest.
sustainable and predictable, right?
Right. It's a start. It's a
Mhm.
starting point, and maybe he can build on that, but I'm not going to be able to do that over and over and over again for him. He's going to have to figure out, okay, how do I get the next customer, and then the customer
Right.
after that? How do I keep getting them?
You mean he's got to
And
learn how to market?
yes, he's
Oh
going to have to
boy.
learn some marketing. Which, yeah, he'll figure it out. I'm pretty confident he can do it. But so you got to know, where are your customers? Like, where are they? Are they? If you're working with organizations, do you need to be talking to the human resource person? Do you need to be talking to the IT officer? Do you need to be talking to the CFO? Where are they?
Right.
Who are the people that are the right people for you to be engaging with? If you're talking to individuals, well, where are those people congregated online? Where do they follow certain people? Are there groups of people that you can find online to start connecting with and engaging with and working with. And then once you've figured out where they are, how are you going to reach them? What's your method of actually contacting them and creating that bridge to them? Because if you don't, for like, once you locate them, you're like, okay, land is over there. Okay,
Yeah.
now I got to figure out a way how to get to the land. How am I going to create a connection point to them? So, if you're doing with organizations, how am I going to reach out and get in contact with these people?
Yeah.
What's your plan? How are you going to start a conversation with them? How are you going to meet with them? How are you going to get introduced to some of these key individuals at organizations? If it's individually, how can I get my message in front of them?
Yeah.
How can I get my message in front of these people? That could be posting in groups and different things and engaging with people in that group and networking. It could be running advertisements to people in certain groups once you know where they are. You could put ads in front of them to start to market your service, but you need a way to create that connection point.
Yeah.
You need a way to create that bridge. So otherwise, you may have the perfect answer for them, but if
Right.
they don't know you exist,
Right.
nothing is still happening. So we got to create that. And then once you get that started and you figure out, hey, that worked, this type of reach out to this organization, that actually worked. That worked pretty well. And or this type of, me putting a little ad for all the people who follow this certain individual, that worked really well. Great. Now, I need to turn that into a repeatable system.
Mm-hmm.
And how do I consistently turn this into I didn't just do it once or twice, but I can do it again and again and again. And that's when you actually have a business.
Yeah.
When I can generate leads, I can consistently bring people in. I can consistently attract people who are interested in what I'm doing. And I have a process for taking them from interested to becoming leads, from becoming leads to becoming customers.
Yeah.
And when you have, once you get that process in place and you get it smoothed out and it's a way that works consistently and cost effectively, now is when you actually have a business. Because now you can bring new customers in regularly and consistently. And that's the game right there.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest challenges, right, of figuring this piece out for a lot of entrepreneurs, that especially coaches, course creators, trainers, because what I've discovered over the years, right, is that chasing the next client is exhausting. And when you don't have a system in place to find and connect with those clients, it's always like today's, you might be great for now, you might be great for 6 months, you might be great for a year with a contractor or whatever. And then but then you have to realize, well, now I've got to get the next one and then the next one and the next one.
And it's stressful.
It's very stressful. And it also diminishes, I think, your impact on your current clients when you're stressed and chasing the next client. So when you want to be the best for the people you serve, you've got to find a way to consistently get that lead flow to, and I, most coaches I know, most, business people, entrepreneurs that are starting out and have been at it for even a little while, this is not their strength, right? They haven't figured this piece out. And that's why we are building what we're building with Design, Launch, Grow to help people figure these things out. And we've seen some success stories that are even unique in our membership already, of folks that are trying different things. So there's not one, way to do this, right? There are a lot of principles, and we talk a lot about that. They're foundational principles that are repeatable across all kinds of business and industry. But there's different ways to implement those principles that can get the result that you want. So I really like that, because I think that this is, first of all, backing up, I think that very few people, when they're starting out, take the time to create that strong business plan you were talking about.
Right.
And then if they've done that, then this next thing you talked about of acquiring your customers and clients, that becomes something I see a lot of resistance to. Like, like I said, with your son, I've had to battle this, right? And I've shared this many times, where I hated the idea of marketing myself. I've hated the idea of talking about marketing and figuring out marketing, because I just wish somebody would do it for me back in the day. And then I had to realize nobody's coming to rescue me. Like you said earlier on, it's my responsibility. And I find this is crazy, David. The more business leaders, even in our local community, that have like storefronts and brick and mortar type businesses, I find that this is one of their biggest gaps still. So it's not just a coach and course creator, trainer kind of an issue. It's business issue where a lot of people are good at what they do from an operational standpoint and a skill standpoint, expertise, but they don't know how to create that system that will be bringing predictable clients all the time and customers to their business, whatever it may be.
Well, and that's, when you get that though, when you have that predictable system in place, do you know how much pressure that takes off of you?
Oh, I know.
Now, hey, okay, we're starting to get a little light on new leads, on new prospects for, that we can work with. Okay, we need to we know exactly what to do to amplify our efforts to bring in more prospects. Okay,
Right.
now we're good again. And we have enough lead flow to bring in enough new customers.
Yeah.
And it's just, I,
It's
you
like turning a
know,
faucet on and
yes,
off, isn't it?
yes, exactly. When you can do that, you now have a system and a process, and now you have an actual business that
Yeah.
too many times rather than a business, we create a job.
Hmm.
And we're just working for ourselves, killing ourselves, trying to make it all work.
Yeah.
But when you have a process in place, you actually have a business that starts to take care of you instead of you taking care of the business.
Yeah.
And this is what we're teaching in DLG. This is what we're all about, is teaching people who have that vision of what they want to do, but learning how to actually build the business,
Hmm.
learning how to build the actual business part of this, to actually build something that works and help them be successful so that they can do the thing that they're gifted and called to do.
Yeah. Well, folks, we hope this has been helpful to you to think about all this. First of all, like we said, it's imperative to get your mind right. It's so important to get your mind and your heart right, your why right. Get that clarified and make that so front and center and why you do what you do. What are you doing? Why are you in this game? And then you have to be strategic with the business plan, making sure that you have those steps in place. That things are clear of the problems you solve for the exact people you want to work with, and then working on this system David just talked about to find them and to attract them to your business. So if you need help with that, check out designlaunchgrow.com. This is exactly what we work with our clients every week on. We have training videos, Vault. We have coaching every week. We have community meetups to help you strengthen that faith and the mental side of the business game that you're in. And so check out designlaunchgrow.com. We'd love to have you join the program and be a part of the community of entrepreneurs who truly are purpose driven and mission focused, trying to do good in the world in their realm of expertise. And we want you to be successful that way as well. So we will see you next time. Take care, and we hope you have a great day.